It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, you know what it is, ladies and gentlemen. It's Thursday and it's 1 p.m. and that means it's time for a good old-fashioned Texas hemp party. So we're excited to come to you here live on YouTube. I am, of course, your host, Leah Laxton. I'm a native Kentuckian with a passion for hemp. I'm joined by my two awesome co-founders of Higher Ed Hemp Tours. We got Captain Cannabis in the house.
Hey guys.
And let's check out that shirt today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tis the season, Merry Cannabis. And of course, we have our producer and our amazing bilingual co-founder, Cynthia Morales.
Hello, hola.
I think that's Quattro. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Quattro lingua. Right?
Mucho lingual.
Mucho.
As you can tell, we are not, I am not bilingual. However, we have a really incredible lineup today, guys. We're going to have a lot of fun on this Texas hemp party. We've got Mindy from Austin favorite Greenbelt Botanicals in the house.
Hey, hey.
We've got Mike and Zach from the American Hemp Tour. Yeah.
What up? What up, gang?
And we've got David Krantz, the cannabis DNA specialist with us.
Yes.
So,
All right.
we should have a lot to talk about here, guys. So I really want to start with you, David, because you're doing something really interesting on the scientific forefront of blending cannabis, health sciences, and sciences all together. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing with the cannabis DNA.
Yeah, sure. So I have, over the past couple of years, been working on a genetic test that helps people understand the reason why they respond to cannabis and different cannabinoids the way they do, and can help kind of refine and personalize the hemp experience a little bit more individually for people using genetic testing. And I work as a consultant myself doing testing for people, and I also train practitioners. And so that's been pretty exciting for me over the past 3 or 4 months. I've launched the first round of this practitioner training, and I'm getting ready to do the second round of enrollments after the initial course. But yeah, the idea is using someone's individual genetics to really get an understanding of like why they respond to THC or CBD in a particular way, and make more informed decisions based on that.
I think it's really interesting. We found you through our good friends over at AMA, Ted and gang, and they had you on a webinar that Cynthia was so blown away. She actually sent off and did the DNA test, which was really interesting for us to kind of find out the results. And of course, as we all knew, her THC tolerance is quite high. So what else did you learn there, Cynthia?
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. I mean, talking to David, I like how they laid it out. First of all, you get some videos, because it is a lot of information that we take in. So I really like that after the consultation, you can go back and kind of see your results, especially after finding out that the way I metabolized some cannabinoids was definitely very different than other people, especially compared to CBD. My body actually metabolized it much quicker, which kind of helped me understand my dosing issue. It's like, oh, now I know why I probably need to take a higher dose, on any type of CBD product. So yeah, it really was interesting, and kind of getting that background of knowing why this is important, like not just of, okay, I have my DNA and this is a product, but why is this important to you? Because that's going to help people choose the right product too.
So are you saying, Cynthia, that because of your DNA, you have to spend a lot more money than most of the rest of us?
Sort of. I definitely have to get better quality products, or with a higher
Concentration.
milligram. Yes, yeah.
It's really interesting stuff, David. So do you find, are these variances in people's personalized responses to cannabis, like do they vary drastically, or are they just sort of like in between, you know, like similar? How what is this difference in people in the way that they absorb cannabinoids and cannabis?
It's a really good question. And I see people on both ends of the extreme, and then I'll see other people that are more in that kind of middle bell curve area with more typical kind of average responses. But yeah, I see people on one end sometimes that are, say, extremely sensitive to THC. You know, they're the type of people that can have a really small amount, have a really strong reaction. And then on the other side, people that seem to have a really high tolerance naturally without having built that tolerance up. um, and yeah, this seems to from and it's interesting. I get emails from people now specifically seeking me out because they're looking for someone to talk to about their weird experiences. So I think I have a higher frequency of kind of the anomalous responders talking to me than usual. But you know, there's people out there, and this is something not a lot of people are aware of. There's some people that do not respond to THC edibles at all. Like they can take like 1,000 milligrams of THC and they don't notice anything. So
That's Cynthia.
so
Yes,
you know, I see
it was.
ranges on kind of either side, and it's
Very
interesting
interesting.
to start to give people some of the science of like why this might be happening for them and look at some specifics that way.
Yeah, I think
So-
that's really interesting. It makes sense that the ones most attracted to it would be people who have had, you know, anomalous experiences with cannabis where either it didn't affect them at all or it overly affected them a lot more than their friends or colleagues. So it's really fascinating. What made you go down this path were you already in the cannabis industry, or were you more on the DNA testing side?
It's more on the DNA testing side. I actually came, and I've been a cannabis enthusiast for most of my life. So there's that general interest from a personal perspective. But I was doing, and I still do a lot of work with individualized nutrition and lifestyle coaching and using DNA as kind of a blueprint or a guide for that. And so a couple of years ago, I don't know where I found it, but I came across a study or two that was looking at individual differences with THC metabolism. And all of a sudden, all these experiences in my life made sense where, you know, smoking with friends and someone has a really intense response and we're like, dude, what's the deal? Because none of us are feeling, you know, that way, or connecting early experiences where, you know, discovering that there were people out there that didn't enjoy the feeling of cannabis and going like, what do you mean? Like, how could this be? And so that tied some of my own personal experiences together first, and then realized how powerful and useful that information can be to other people, and started experimenting with my own clients and just compiling information basically. And it's led to this test and training material now.
That's
I love
really
science.
amazing. Yeah,
I was going to say, you know, my experience is similar to that too, because I have an innovative mind. So I'm always thinking I'll be caught for a long time thinking about something. So when I was younger, I tried cannabis and I was like frozen in time, you know, just like staring at something for, you know, 15 minutes. And it was scary because you feel like you may be trapped in time. And so later on, when we went to Amsterdam and a similar thing happened to me, I just realized, but I'm starting to think, I mean, I need to talk to you about this stuff, but I really think that people that are strong creatives, because they're thinking about so many different things, cannabis has a way of healing the brain anyways. But I think, at least in my case, I had to get my surfing legs and learn how to control my attention, you know, where I'm focusing my attention on things. And I think that I'm just curious if your discoveries is kind of my results, and my discovery is that I think that people that have a lot on their mind, or if they have their creative types, if maybe those are the kind of people that are kind of scared, that, you know, or paranoid because they feel like they're trapped. What do you think?
It's an interesting experience, and I think a lot of people would probably agree. There's definitely some genetics that have been correlated with that type of paranoia, anxiety, and there's also some other ones that are correlated with memory and like that sense of like all of a sudden losing all those other thoughts in your head. Some people are more prone to that than others. And that's actually one of the genetic variants that seems to have one of the biggest impacts. Like when you look at overall effect size of some of these things, like some of the genetic variants are pretty small effect sizes. You know, they might be pushing something in, you know, one direction 3 to 5%. But when you look at the data around some of the short-term memory stuff, like there's a gene that accounts for about 40% of someone's short-term memory capacity after using THC. So just like that on its own, I think, and this is kind of my own hunch and kind of aligns with what you're saying, is that like sometimes if you're if you're one of those people that's prone to say short-term memory deficits, it can be actually pretty paranoia, and it can be anxiety provoking to all of a sudden be in the space, like you said, like kind of free floating without your normal you know, flow of thoughts, and what do you do with that? How do you learn to navigate that? So I
You hit it on the head.
multifaceted, but it aligns with your experience in some ways of that, like of the memory and the you know, just different way of thinking about things kind of contributing to that sense of anxiety for you.
Wow.
It's very interesting stuff. So beyond just the strain profile, like the terpenes, interesting how your DNA itself is so different. So when you walk in a store and it's like, this is gonna, you know, make you happy. It's like a statistic, like, yeah, it might for a lot of people, that's the effect, but everyone is so unique when it comes to everything, and cannabis is no different. So really amazing work that you're doing there, David, for sure. Later, we'll give people a chance to reach out to you, tell them how to get a hold of you. But Mindy, let's go to you. So Mindy, you are with Greenbelt Botanicals, an Austin favorite. You guys have 3 locations now, which is pretty incredible. You've opened a couple of new locations, even with everything going on in 2020. So tell us a little bit about how you got in this hemp industry, this cannabis world, and what you guys are all about there at Greenbelt.
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, David, thanks for that. Now I've got to go after you, Wiz, and I am studying genetics right now. So I think that's just completely fascinating. Everything you're saying, I'd love to pick your brain in the future. But yeah, Greenbelt. So yeah, we have 3 locations. They're all south. So we have one right next to the Alamo Draft House. So that one is, oh yeah, there we go. So this is just kind of our little flow page to get you to all of our locations in our online shop. So yeah, South Lamar is our biggest shop. We have a humidor in there that you can smoke in. We have a whole pre-roll wall. It's a blast. That we have free Wi-Fi. We allow pets. So if you really are sick of working from home, that's definitely the place to hit up. So on top of that, we also have Westgate, which is our original store that's over across the street from Westgate Lanes, which I like to put those 2 together and go and bowl after having a nice smoke. Yeah. And then our newest location is out off of Bee Caves. So it's out in the working district out there, and it's really nice. It's a boutique style, and it's right there, and we're trying to make it so that we can start making edibles fresh there. So that is the idea of where to go. But yeah, I just honestly started with the company back in August. They're trying to pick up after COVID. They opened up their doors and just kind of needed help because, you know, they opened up their 3rd store and then COVID happened. So it just kind of went dormant. And then they were like, okay, we need to reopen and boost everything back up. So that's when I met y'all, which I'm so glad, because I've gotten to learn so much through you guys. And this is an opportunity in itself, just meeting everyone in this room right now. And I'm really excited about it.
That's really awesome. Yeah, we love Greenbelt. We had actually taken the party bus back over there last year and had a blast at the Westgate location. But I love this Lamar location. You were telling us, so a lot of the building materials in the store are actually hemp. Is that right?
Yeah. So the guys that actually started the company, so it's family owned and family run. And then they actually had a couple of their best friends invest, and they all kind of put their blood, sweat, and tears in everything. All of our shelvings, every table is made from our owners. So we really appreciate them. And yeah, like you said, most of the store is built with actual hemp. Even in the walls, I mean, we have giant hemp rope even. It's just very, very involved in our store as a whole.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's really beautifully done, very well curated and put together, high quality products. And then you guys have your own brand of products as well that you, do you guys wholesale those to other stores too? Or is that
No.
primarily
Yeah, right
at your
now
location?
we're just at our location. Yeah, we're just kind of figuring out, different people that we're working with. We're trying to curate the shops from here on out to be as local as possible. That does get, hard in certain situations. There's not a lot of certain products that are actually being sold in Austin that we're also looking at, like inhalers and things like that. But yeah, we're always open to new people. We like to think of ourselves as an incubator. So we want to be able to give people an opportunity to get into the business and show them off and, be proud of Austin and show Austin like what we have to offer. And that's why we're so excited about our recent strains being Austin grown, or not Austin grown, but Texas grown. But actually one of them is Austin grown, but so we're really excited about those, and it's history in the making. So we like to promote it as much as possible. We took a bunch of macro lens pictures of all of our flowers the other day, so those are up online now and you can get a good look at it. But if you want to go see it in person, we also have magnifying glass in there so you can see all the crystals and everything. Great.
Yeah, that's so cool. We were talking about your smoke room, which is a really interesting, awesome feature, the humidor inside the store. You can actually smoke hemp inside of your store there on Lamar, which is awesome. And we're going to be cutting a little video for Instagram y'all can look out for, called Movies and Flower, playing off of your great location right next to Alamo Draft House, which is one of our favorite places. So why not get some flower at Greenbelt and connect that to your favorite movie right next door at Alamo? So you guys stay tuned to Instagram for that.
Yeah, and I also wanted to say that we do offer, so it never made sense to me how you can go to a bar and taste test a beer before you buy it. So we implemented at our South Lamar location, you can actually go in and get up to 2 bowls of fresh hemp, and you can try it out before you buy it, and then you get to keep your one hitter. Obviously we want to be able to give that to you, we won't keep it around, but so it's a good opportunity to actually try it out and see what you like before you buy it, rather than just being like, it looks pretty. So
that's awesome.
I was going to ask, do you guys serve drinks there too?
So that was initially the plan. We can't do that because of our licensing. So sometimes during events or things like that, we will do free drinks. But we're actually working on getting a little bit of a coffee bar started to use some of our hemp coffee and things like that. We're maybe thinking about changing up one of our other locations to be more of a cannabis cantina style, though.
Do you have soft drinks though? Like if
so we do. Yeah, you can actually buy some drinks right from our fridge. We have, Wild, we have Recess, and we also have some water. So the Living water, CBD Living. So yeah, I always end up drinking them when I go in because they're just so beautiful to look at. And then they actually really just keep me focused throughout the day. And it actually ends up being the best work from home experience whenever I go down there, because I just am probably the most focused I am, since COVID started because of all the CBD available.
That's so true. Yeah, that's awesome. We were talking about that a couple of weeks ago with our buddy Lee about how, really it's such a great replacement for alcohol. And that's the movement sort of happening with Dry January coming up. It's a great way to replace that. And especially in the can experience, because then you really feel like, okay, I'm having a beer, but you're getting such a better effect, a health effect, and otherwise. Well, let's talk to our American Hemp Tour guys, Mike and Zach. Tell us a little bit about yourselves and what you guys are doing, what you've seen traveling the country on this tour, and what the future is.
Yeah, so obviously my name is Mike Brown. I ended up working with a company at the very beginning of the year by the name of Top Shelf Hemp Co. Awesome people. Shout out to Gentry Matthews and the whole gang out there in St. Louis, Earth City. At the beginning of January, I was working with those guys as an executive for sales, and I recognized within the industry that collaboration wasn't really happening at the rate that I felt that hemp really needed. And so we figured, hey, COVID started, everybody's sitting at home, why not just go out and go do a hemp tour? Well, everybody will be watching as we just prance around the land and collaborate with as many farms and CBD shops and hemp shops and liquor stores, gas stations, getting the word out about hemp and educating first and collaborating as quickly as possible. So we started out in Missouri, and Zach and I, Zach, you can tell your side of the story.
Yeah.
Be easy.
Yeah, thank you for starting off. I'll bring you guys to why this is my passion. So I served in the Navy right after high school. Did a deployment 2016. I was in combat, and I was actually discharged because I chose the natural path for self-healing. I saw that there was a pattern that people experience whenever they were on antidepressants or they chose alcohol, and it was never a pretty situation. Um, you know, Master Chief ended up, he's not with us anymore. So I decided I was going to take matters in my own hands, and I was a successful sailor for about a year of consuming this stuff. Well, I end up get kicked out. I had no plans getting out. My only plan really was to connect with like-minded individuals. A few months before I moved to St. Louis, I decided that's where I'm going to go. So I go to St. Louis. That's where I grew up. Shortly after, I met some amazing people, believe it or not, because I woke up every morning like, I'm going to meet some amazing people. So one of those people was Mike. I instantly connected very deeply with Mike just because he has the innovator mind that Captain Cannabis spoke of. Thought of things very similarly. And February of this year, I was laid off. I was doing construction, really didn't like the job, but it paid the bills. So I knew Mike was working with Top Shelf. I tried out some of their product and I loved it. That was the first time I consumed hemp. I thought I needed THC, but actually I don't. So then COVID happened, and I was like, well, I started learning all about hemp and what it can provide for. So I was thinking it didn't make any sense to focus on anything else. If, hemp made a car in the 1920s, then, what could it make now? So
Exactly.
I decided to stick with my daily mantra to meet like-minded individuals, except hop in the car with Mike and, see where it took me. The past month, I've been laying low. It was a very fun trip, but it was also very painful just because, whenever you put yourself out there so much and trust people so much, kind of get burned. And I had to, spend the past month rebuilding my business. I recently partnered with a farm in California, one of the farms that I spoke with. So that's very exciting. But yeah, that's a little bit of my history and why I went on the hemp tour. And where we went in California, we planned on going to Laguna Beach, but we were like halfway across the country, and the farm was like, hey, you guys you can't come here because someone's sick. So, we were like in Arizona at that point, and we're like, well, now what? So
still going.
We ended up launching our website. We didn't have a website or anything. Launching our website with Square, like in the middle of the desert, connected with exclusive farms, and ended up going to, San Jose, Silicon Valley first, connecting with them. And then it was so funny. We had a lot of cool stuff lined up, but then all of a sudden, Square didn't like what they saw, and they shut the account off. So I was like, uh-oh, we're in California. We just spent a lot of money to get here. We don't really have a place to stay. Oh, and now we don't have access to anything that we're doing. So it was a lot of fun. Very, very fun. Speaking of, I don't recommend doing square if you're in this business starting off just because of the customer service. I just have to put that out.
You can do it if you have your stuff together in terms of your COAs and everything. Start with one product. Don't put 1,000 different things on at one time like we attempted to do, because we felt, hell, we connected with all these people. Maybe we could just put everything on there, but we didn't have all the COAs for every single thing. And so they slapped us in the face a little bit, and it was a little difficult. But we learned from that experience. It was kind of, it was rough in the beginning, but we learned from it. And I'm glad Zach actually went to his history about how he got started within hemp and cannabis in general, because it's kind of similar to how I got started when I was a kid. Like everyone else was consuming, I started consuming the plant when I was 12, actually, in Atlanta, Georgia in '96. I'm 37 now.
Wow.
But at that time, I felt that I was supposed to feel that way. And so I ended up always consuming it through football, basketball, track, all that stuff. Got kicked out of high school because I was selling cannabis in business marketing class. And so now I sell cannabis business marketing. So it comes full circle, essentially. And so, like I said, at the beginning of the year, I started working with a great company. And what Zach said, we went on the tour wanting to connect and collaborate with as many people as possible. And now Exclusive Hemp Farms, I'm an executive there, helping them build out their first franchise type business model where we're helping people get started within hemp with education. But then also what we do is help them actually have their own brand and franchise out. Like no one's done that just yet. And so we're doing what Ray Kroc did with McDonald's within hemp. And that's what we're focused on right now with American Hemp Tour. We're going to go back out and do it again. But then also we started the company Hemp Kick. So yeah, that's what we're doing right now.
That's awesome. Captain Cannabis likes to say, instead of fail fast, fail forward, discover fast, discover forward. And it sounds like you guys definitely did a lot of great discovering. And now you're able to put those things into play. Zach, I know you hit on, we see this. So there's kind of some other news in Texas this week on just, kind of people saying they can do something and they can't do it. And like a lack of professionalism, perhaps, that plagues the hemp industry. And in my opinion, I'd like y'all to all weigh in on this, but I don't see it as like anybody's evil or necessarily even out to screw everyone. What happens is there are a lot of new entrepreneurs in our industry, and any industry that has an influx of new entrepreneurs, they don't always understand the way business works and all the ins and outs, and they have great intentions that maybe sometimes they're not able to follow through on those intentions. But if any of you guys want to weigh in on, have you seen that? And how can we sort of elevate this industry to this professional level that we all strive for?
To not always be with money focus. I found that big business has no role in this industry at all. And what I'm saying is that we need to collaborate more. There's companies trying to be the Budweiser of hemp, for example. But the problem is that the industry's not ready for that. We need to collaborate more, educate ourselves more on the plant, educate the people on what the hell the endocannabinoid system is. Educate them on what this plant has done in the past first so that we can predict the future. And so I think that if we can collaborate faster, and because if you think of hemp and cannabis, it's a breaking bread type of plant. That's what it is. We break bread, we consume, we pass the pipe around, peace pipe around, and we commune with the plant. You can't just come in with money and expect to win. When money comes in the beginning, you can have money, but you need to have that sweat equity more so than just the money equity. That's what I think. So collaborate and shake hands more often.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Go ahead, Mindy.
I would totally agree with Mike. I think that was the hardest thing for me coming into this industry, which I kind of talked to Cynthia about when she stopped by. I just think it's so bizarre how standoffish everybody is. And it's like, we're all doing the same, like we're all trying to help people, right? Like if that's everyone's intention, there should be no barriers of pride, right? And that's why I appreciated getting to know you guys, because that was the forefront of what you guys came to us with was, we're going to do networking. Like you're going to meet other people. Like this experience in itself, like it's just, we have a geneticist and we have like also like people that are in all different types of the industry. Like it's just amazing to learn what's going on. And like I was saying before, I'm in the middle of studying and everything. And my whole intention was to go to vet school, but through studying biochemistry and everything, I've found it extremely fascinating what I can research on the endocannabinoid system and the effects on just every single disease you can possibly think of. And that's why I just really geared myself once I started learning so much about it. Whenever I came into the industry, I was like, actually, you're coming into my life at a great time, because I'm really getting to know this more than just, you know, the psychedelic effects. And, you know, I love, you know, taking part in all of that and everything like that. But when you're trying to get people to take you a little bit more seriously and say, okay, there's a whole other side of this though that isn't bred just for a psychological effect. It's all internal, and it's basically like a switchboard in your body that it's just helping everything. And to me, it makes absolutely no sense why anyone should walk into our stores and not end up purchasing something, because they should be learning about something and realizing what they can do. And like I tell even the owners of where I work, it's just, hey, research any disease you want, and research what cannabis is doing for it. And I think you'll be completely fascinated with what it can do and the possibilities if we're allowed to continue this. And I think we have a huge opportunity to botch that and not allow it to get to that point. So I think it's really important ultimately to work together, like Mike was saying. So
Yeah, I totally agree. And David, inside of the science world, do you find cannabis being fairly well accepted, like researched, or is it still kind of maybe a little bit comical to some scientists?
I'll have to answer that with the caveat of I also have a little bit of an outside perspective in that world fully, because I'm really more involved in the client facing, patient facing world with the coaching side of things. My research experience is really more based on synthesizing and aggregating data that's been done in the lab. Like I'm not so in the lab getting I'm not in the lab getting grants and research funding like that. So
Gotcha.
my sense is that from what I've seen, there's more of an acceptance that's been happening. There's, a growing ability to research cannabis more freely, talking to friends that I do have in that arena. But there still is, I think, especially among some of the old guard, a suspicion or skepticism that, in my mind is not completely out of place. Like I think there's the due scientific process that needs to happen, that is happening and has been happening, to make sure that all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, so that you can go and show people, hey, this is the research, this is the data. And the from what I've seen on the practitioner side of things, I can speak to that a little bit more informed. People are really interested. People are really, they are following, Mindy, like you said, the research around being able to Google pretty much any condition you want, look at what the implications for the endocannabinoid system are in that, and go, even if, we don't know exactly what's happening here yet, there is something happening, there is something related. And I always say, like, it's almost absurd how many things people have found have to be useful for. Like, are we going to throw that out because it's absurd, there's so many things, or are we going to understand the ubiquitous this nature of the endocannabinoid system and how pervasive it is? And sometimes I'll see this kind of light switch thing happen for people that have been working with clients without focusing on the endocannabinoid system. And then these are people that really understand systems biology and see how things are interrelated. And it's like when you add the understanding of how the endocannabinoid system kind of has its tentacles everywhere, then people start to see it. And I think that there's a real sea change happening. Talking to, say, other doctors and practitioners that were skeptical a couple years ago, talking to them this year, there's been a willingness to look more into, okay, what's the actual outcomes for people on this stuff. So, I think people, on one hand, you're getting people that are having their minds changed because of the science. On the other hand, you have people that are getting changed because of real outcomes you see in patients and clients. And then I think you have this kind of third people that are slowly changing because of the socio-political, way that cannabis is being talked about now more and more. Like, so I don't know if this was the question at all, but in my mind, I see people adopting cannabis and being more open to it kind of in all the areas of health and science right now.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, the Pew Research study that came out about a month or so ago. It's like 67% now of Americans say there's nothing wrong with cannabis, that it's morally acceptable. That's like double from 2000. So we can see just how quickly the mindset has really changed here. And a lot of it has to do with, we do have a lot more studies now than we had 10 years ago. Yesterday, big news that the UN removed cannabis from the narcotic drug list. So they're recognizing it for for medical benefits only, of course, not going into adult use, but 27 to 25, really close vote. The Eastern countries against it, US, Canada kind of leading the way on the for it side, and 2 votes it passed. This is really important because this is stopping not only federal legalization in a lot of countries, but also research. So with this removed, I think we're going to start to see even more research because, you get a lot of pushback like, well, that study's not peer reviewed or whatnot. And it's like, well, technically it's almost, depending on where you are, like illegal to even be studying effects of cannabis. You can get in on CBD to a certain extent, but you get over that 0.3, you're taking a risk by even publishing a study like that. So I think it goes to your point, David, that it's like there's more research now and it is changing people's minds. And I'm excited to see this move and just how much more research we're going to get now that this has changed.
I was thinking too that
yeah.
it's really kind of extraordinary because there comes a point in time, because even like I said, I've had the same experience with someone, like they try the CBD and I'll just tell you, it's my dad. My dad's helping my mom. She's got dementia, takes the CBD. And then, almost a month later, he's like, hey, I did the research like he told me to, but it looks like the THC may actually help her. I go, Dad, the religion, you can't do that, right? And he's like, I don't care. He says, if this is a healthful plant. So I'm starting to see that people are starting to realize that a buzz is a buzz. You look at the, if some of the scientists just realize that, the old lady that's at church and she's high on Xanax or Prozac or whatever she's high on, I mean, she's got a strong buzz in her system and she's worshiping her God. And so, but she's not afraid because her doctor said it was okay. The church said it was okay. And so people are starting to wake up to realize that this is just a plant, and sure, it gives you a buzz, say the THC part, but it's far better than all those things. From all the research, we're finding that it heals so many things because of that endocannabinoid system. But it's exciting.
Breaking that stigma is extremely important, I feel. And you hit it right on the head. Someone could be in church and they'll be, approved of the doctor and they'll be all for it. And it's all mindset. And that's where education comes in. And all of us being practitioners here are the foundational forefathers, so to speak, and foremothers of this industry. So yeah, we have to break that stigma. And I love what you guys are doing here and being a big part of doing that. Definitely being named higher ed. Obviously, you're there to break the stigma, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. That came from me telling Cynthia, hey, we have like 5 minutes. I need, it can't just be hemp tours. I need something else. And she whipped that out in about 3.5 minutes. We ran through like 1,000. We're just like throwing out names. And I was like, yes, higher ed, it's perfect. Now, Zach, coming from your military background, so that is one place where it's still tough because not only are they like, don't take CBD products, don't take full spectrum. But I think it's the Air Force and Navy have both said, like, do not touch any cannabis, like, don't touch even isolates. Like, we're concerned it could show up in which, yes, there is a chance of that, going into, depending on your body type, et cetera, but very low chance. So what are you seeing among your veteran friends, your colleagues, as far as their acceptance of cannabis and what they think about some of the overreaching stigmas that the military is placing on it?
Okay, I'm glad you asked. So I think the main reason why the whole thing is being banned is because there is, just from my experience, there is people getting in trouble and saying, oh, I just got the CBD from the store, it must have been hot. So they're just like, well, they can't just keep on using this excuse. So let's do that. But for the most part, a lot of people serving with me kind of joked about, oh, I can't wait to get out because, I'm going to instantly light one up, or when I'm home on leave. It seems to be very, very widely accepted amongst the lower ranking. Of course, the higher ranking, they can't be so open about liking it because, they are the enforcers. But for the most part, I've been out for about 3 years now. For the most part, it seemed to be morally accepted. People were shocked when they found out that I was using because they were like, we didn't notice anything. Meanwhile, other sailors were showing up hungover and they weren't getting in trouble, but they're causing more of a disturbance than I ever would have. So I
Good
think
point.
I think it's mostly just because it's a federally illegal thing. The military has to take that stand on it. But even my father, he served in the Navy in the 80s, and they weren't as strict on it back then. But I know back then there was, heavy, heavy use. I would also like to say, you guys were talking about stigma and research. I'm a heavy researcher here myself, and I've noticed it seems to be there's less stigma on the terpene side of things than the cannabinoid. For
Very
instance,
true.
like Forbes, it's a pretty mainstream uh, name. They did an article with terpenes and how it was helping with inflammation and the coronavirus. Like that was helping much more than whatever steroid they, you know, originally prescribed. And I think it's so cool to have this stand on health and wellness and finding out for myself what this plant can do for me, and really not caring what the law is. It was like, well, I know how I feel, and the more of this I consume, the better I feel. It's really just so liberating to see that now these uh, big names are saying, "Oh yeah, this plant is actually better treating than whatever we've been prescribing." Um,
Right. And
and
then
it's just
we've been working on
I
CBN
feel
lately
so
too.
blessed to be here with you guys right now, really. Because when it comes to collaborating, I don't know how many other people are doing, a weekly video call like this, and I think this is the such a good foundation builder for what the hemp industry will become. I truly mean that.
Well, we really
You know, the truth,
appreciate that, Zach, for sure.
and the truth is that there's a difference between someone that breaks the law that actually hurts other people. The reason why laws were written were to protect people, but it's a totally different story when someone's breaking the law for the right reason, and that's what they call a conscientious objector to a law, and that's a human right on this planet.
I think that we actually are blessed to even have the fact that we can play with hemp a little bit with the different cannabinoids. Say, for instance, like CBN, with it being an anti-convolucent and inflammatory, so many different other properties that THC couldn't possibly provide. And yet, people are waiting in line at a dispensary just to get high-level THC, and we can actually educate them on, well, maybe you might want to try this heavy in amount of CBN because it's an anti-convolucent. If you have seizures, that might help. It's an anti-inflammatory. It's an appetite stimulant. It makes your ass go to sleep. Like all the great things that it provides, and it's hemp derived, so it's federally legal. And so we have all these other cannabinoids that we can actually educate people on, and not have to necessarily worry about, oh, is this legal to do? Yeah, absolutely. It's derived from hemp. So that's why I think we're in a great spot within hemp specifically, for sure.
I totally agree. Even on the growing side, to be able to grow hemp, which is obviously very close to a higher THC plant. I mean, it basically is the same plant. So I think it's really awesome evolution in that. Well,
I was
guys.
going to mention the
Oh
terpenes
yeah.
though, real quick. On the terpene side that Zachary was mentioning, I like to look at that the cannabinoids are like boats. And so you can have a fast boat or a slow boat. Slow boat is the more indica or, well, sensation, but the terpene profile for that may be a myrcene. So that's the boat, Anyway, so you got your CBN, CBD. Yeah. So you have
elevator.
Your boat is the actual cannabinoid, but your rudder is the other, or maybe even, it might even be the engine on the boat, right? Because it's the one that steers where that cannabinoid goes, and it changes the effect. And they're learning that even so, if you mix one of the cannabinoids with a different terpene, then you get a slightly different effect. And it's amazing where this boat's going to take us.
Yeah, and it's really interesting looking at the consumer side data too of the evolution of education. Like in the early adult use states, your Colorado, California, people are very interested in seeing the terpene profiles, the percentages of cannabinoids, et cetera, even in the dispensary setting. Whereas you go east to the newly legalized states, they're just like, how hot? Okay, but how much THC is in this? How much can I possibly get? So it's the evolution of the consumer. And we obviously have to reach out with this hemp education to these early adopters, people who have never tried cannabis before are trying these hemp products. So introducing them to the history, the lifestyle, just all the healing aspects around it. And then of course, we're learning more every day as well. Like with David learning about the DNA, who would have known, that guides so much of it as well. So it's really incredible stuff, guys. We're so thankful to have all of you on with us today on the Texas Hemp Party. Want to go back through and just make sure people know how to get in touch with you. So, David, I think I have your website pulled up here. This is you, the david-krantz.com.
Yeah, that's me. That's my personal site. And so if you're interested in getting a test for yourself, you can go there and send me a message. I also have a site called cannadna.education. That is a site where you can sign up to learn more about the practitioner trainings for running genetic testing for cannabinoids. So if you're interested, I'm going to be opening this course up again towards the end of December, early January, and you can just get on the email list and let you know more about the details of the course that way.
Wow, that's a really cool and interesting course to check out. So cannadna.education, david-krantz.com. And Mindy, is this the best place to find you guys on the website, Greenbelt Botanicals?
Yeah, so you can find us on our website. We're also on social media. So we have a Facebook page and Instagram page, both just Greenbelt Botanicals, super easy. All three of our locations are open. We have a couple events coming up. So we love to do live podcasts. So
yeah, tell us about, you guys have a really cool event coming up at the Far Out Lounge, which I have just been hearing about this place for months. My brother lives next to there on, what is that, Stasny, I think, Stasny and Congress in South Austin. Yeah. So tell us what's happening there.
Yeah, so it is a big outdoor space. They have a big stage. We're actually having quite a few people come in doing a concert, kind of like a holiday concert. Yeah. So we're really excited about it. We'll be sponsoring it. It's a Live Music Capital Productions. So it's a bunch of rap artists from all different places like Houston and Dallas that are coming in. And we're going to actually be doing a podcast with them this weekend from our green room. So you can see that also on our Instagram.
Very cool. And let's go to you guys. Mike, what's the best place to catch up with you and Zach?
Yeah, so there's two spots. First off, if you just type in AmericanHempTour.com, it's going to actually auto redirect to our website, Voiso, which means receive love in an ancestral language from the Northeast Florida region of the country, the Temuco people. So essentially, we have Farm Bill education first in the first little bit of the website, but then also we have different products from all the different collaborations that we've done on the hemp tour. Exclusive hemp you can see there, and then we have a spot called education where you can see essentially the endocannabinoid system, and people can see what different cannabinoids are. Then our podcast is going to be the last piece on the website, a Hemp Kick podcast, where it shows where they could get a hold of us or at least listen to some of our banters back and forth. And then Instagram is going to be instagram.com/ hempkick at the end of that. So yeah, there it is right there. So C4.
There we go.
Yeah, so there's one part there. Then there's a regular Hemp Kick on Instagram as well, which is more of the education piece. So you have Hemp Kick podcast, which is that, and then you have Hemp Kick itself, which is the actual education that brings people in, kind of a funnel, so to speak. So.
Very cool. Well, we appreciate all of you guys being on the show today. It's been a lot of fun, as always, getting all the different perspectives. You know, like I think the theme of what we've been talking about here today is really collaboration is what's going to move this industry forward. And it's been amazing to collaborate with all of y'all. Thank you for all your efforts in the hemp industry. And I think that's it, y'all. We're going to see you next week on the Texas Hemp Party.
Thanks, y'all.
Yep. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you. It was nice meeting you all.
Yeah,
you too,
thank
man.
you guys.
You
This
too,
was great.
Zach. You too, Dave. And you too, Mike.
All right. See you guys.
We'll insert music here on the podcast playback.
We'll get this music figured out.
I know.